Hello everybody. My name's Ben Fetters. I work for my dad, Ron, with Sovereign SP. You might recognize me. I think we presented a little bit last time, so I won't do too much of an introduction. But the app we're going to be looking over today and the flow are related to projects. So here's our little introduction real quick. So we're doing work right now for Choice Humanitarian. Has anyone heard of Choice Humanitarian at all? A little bit? Cool. So their mission is to end extreme poverty. So they're doing lots of different projects in, I think, 7 different countries around the world. They're working with local leaders there to help get them funded, and they've got expeditions, so people are going out there. There's kind of a lot involved with it. And one of the main things that they wanted to do and what they've needed is when they have people in the field that are out there, they want to be able to take pictures and see project information just while they're out there, working on the farm or the new school or whatever it is. They just want to be able to see some information. So the way they were doing that before was not super organized. They were just kind of sending emails to headquarters and saying, hey, these are for this project, and let me know about how our funding is doing for this project and everything. So it was not a very organized situation. It was pretty stressful for them. Here's some of the examples of the pictures they have on their site. They're really an awesome organization if you want to ask us questions or go to Peru or Kenya or something and do an expedition out there. But so the solution we came up with allows them to see different projects that they're in. So all these projects are the projects that they're just either the main director of or they're part of the staff, they're associated with the project, and they'll be able to upload pictures, or you can see there's a little details button on there that can see the different details about the project, all the funding and all that sort of stuff. You'll see I have the new Disneyland Resort project on there as our little test project. So digging into it a little bit, the upload pictures part. So when you click on a project, you want to upload pictures, it takes you to that screen, the one you're seeing on the left. And it already is getting the project number, the country that you're in, the community. You can write a little description about the picture. You can choose to notify headquarters if you want. And then you can attach pictures. So if you guys have seen that on PowerApps, you'll click attach and it'll let you either choose a picture that you've already taken or you're just going to take a new picture. And the detail screen is basically, it's kind of plain right there. I'll show that a little bit more, but it's just showing the funding, how much has been approved for this project and things like that. Part of the kind of background and how this is working, and we'll see this a little more when we go into the app, but basically once you've uploaded some pictures, it's going to allow you to review your pictures, see which pictures you've taken, delete some if you want, and then when you're ready, you'll just hit upload. And once you go to that details screen of that project, you'll see the pictures that we've just uploaded into there. So I know that's not super exciting on a PowerPoint, so I'll be switching over to the actual app. And I guess before I do that, so actually real quick. There we go. So to help you guys kind of understand when we were coming up with this process on actually building the app, there's going to be 3 different things going on. So we have our project list with all our project information, and they wanted something different because you might think, why can't I just save these pictures as attachments to that project? Because that would work too, and that'd be pretty easy. But they wanted a separate library where they could store all the pictures. And in that library, they're going to have metadata for the pictures saying this belongs to this project. So then when they're wanting to show pictures for a certain project, they can just go to SharePoint, go to their picture library, see all the pictures for that project, nice and easy. They don't want them to be attachments to a project. Just to kind of explain that. So what we thought of is a way to, I've seen a few different ways on how you can upload pictures. You can maybe ask me after. This is just one of the ways to upload pictures with PowerApps or any documents that you'd like. But we're actually using another list. So we have our picture upload list, the one in the middle. And what we're doing when we're uploading something, that screen on the left, when I'm uploading something, that's actually creating a new item in that picture upload list. And it's saving the number and the country and all the information about the project. And then once that item is created with those attachments, then we're going to have a flow run, and that is going to run when a new item is created. The flow is going to get the item, get the attachments, and then for each attachment, it's going to create a file in that picture library, and then it's going to add the project number to it so they can kind of keep that organized. So if that makes sense. So then this is how we kind of have it laid out in the app so it's not confusing when I go to the app. So the project list is that one you're seeing right there with all the projects. The picture upload list is the one I just showed you with the form right there. And when I look at my details screen, we're actually showing the picture library in a little gallery, and that's just showing all the pictures that are from that project. So, whoa, there we go. We head over to our app. I'll try to zoom in here a little bit. Does anyone have any questions so far, though? So far, so good? Let's see, maybe a little bit bigger. Is that too big? Can you guys see that okay? Okay, cool. All right, so first off, something kind of cool about this gallery, that one of the hard parts and one of the things we always have to do in PowerApps is filter a gallery, and it's usually never as simple as just putting in the data source. We've always got to filter it somehow and show a certain item or whatever it is. So I wish this gallery was that simple, but if I look at the items property in this gallery, that's pretty small. Okay, let's try to zoom in here. Can you see that a little bit better? Is that okay? Okay. So this looks kind of like a big mess, but I'll kind of walk you through it. So first off, the items that I'm showing in this gallery are just the items that that person is either the project director or you're in the staff. We've also got that search box, so I'm also going to show the projects that are just in the search box. When I'm typing in, I'm searching for a project. And I'm going to sort by the title, so it's going to be alphabeticalized, and I'm going to, sort it up and down, so A to Z or Z to A. But whenever you're looking at a formula, I think it's always kind of interesting. I came back to this app because I was trying to go over how I built it, and I looked at this and I was like, I don't know what I was doing here, but it's nice to kind of break things down, especially when you're looking at some app that someone else has built. So don't be intimidated by anything. But so the first thing we're going to do is actually, I know this is a little confusing, but the first part of this whole function right here is this part. So in PowerApps, something that's actually really useful is you can add a column. So in my SharePoint list, which is the collection projects, I've saved my SharePoint list into a collection to make it run a little quicker. But I've added a column, and you'll see I've called it staff email right there. I'm naming my column. And what's going to be in this new column? Well, I'm putting in a concat function. So the reason I'm using this function is to be able to say, is the user's email in the staff? And to make that a little easier, I created a column called staff email. And in that new column, I've got all the emails of the staff. So it makes PowerApps it allows it to kind of filter that out a little easier. So I've created this new column called staff email. It's got all the list of all the emails in that staff field, which is a people picker field. And the next thing right here, I've just got the ICD's photo as a new column, and I've put the ICD's picture in that column. So does anyone have any questions about that so far in this process? Cool. So the next thing I'm doing is actually going to be the filter function. So I'm going to say, is the ICD is just the in-country directory. That's what that stands for. Does that email equal my user's email? So is that it's just going to show the projects where I'm the ICD or where I'm in that new staff email column. So that's where I'm using that new staff email column. Then I'm going to add another part of my filter, and that's where this part comes in. This is my text search box. It's where I'm searching something. So it's going to say, okay, show me all the projects that have the title, that have the search term in the title. So if I start typing the name of a project, it'll show up in there. So that's where that part's coming from. And then lastly, it's just going to filter and order things based on my variable that you guys have maybe seen if you do the template apps. Oh, man. Oh, it's going a little crazy. Okay, so if I hit play, there we go. And I click this filter function that's switching the variable to true or false, and the function I have in there for the items is saying if the variable is true, you're going to sort it ascending. If it's false, you're going to sort it descending. And I can start typing in here, new Disneyland, and it starts coming up with that project right there. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but. So there's that part. The more interesting part that you're probably more interested in is going to be the picture part. So if I go to my picture upload screen, and I can make that look a little bit better. So I'll hit play again, and I'll come over here and I'll click on take a picture. I'll come to my OneDrive, and let's see if I can find the picture that we just took of all of you. Might be kind of hard to find. Oh man. Okay, let me just get some other picture. Okay, so there's a picture of me and my wife. And we'll get in some other picture. Where are we at? Of somebody typing on the keyboard. Okay, so you'll notice there's a little button right here called Review Pictures. And when I click on, that's only going to show up if there's something in the attachments gallery. And once I've put something in the attachments gallery, if I click on this button, it's going to show me this new screen, and I can see my pictures. I can kind of scroll over, and if I want, I can say I don't like this picture, and I can remove the picture. And if I'm good to go, I can come back here and just click on, well, first I can add my description if I want, and then I can just click on upload. I guess I need to put in the description. New picture. And this is going to start the flow. So if we come over here to our flow and zoom in a little bit. Okay. So this is a pretty simple flow. As I was explaining, just when we click that upload button, that's just submitting that item with all those pictures in the attachments control. And the flow is going to start when a new item is created right here. So when a new item is created in the picture uploads list, first off, I add a little delay for 30 seconds. That's why this is taking a little while. I just put that there because sometimes it takes PowerApps a little bit in SharePoint to really upload all of the attachments. If you added like 10 pictures, it might take it a second to upload all the attachments on there. Even though the item's already created, the attachments aren't in there right away, I found out. So I've added a little bit of a delay on there. It might not need to be 30 seconds, but then the next thing it's going to do is going to just get that item properties, and that we'll use for later. Then we're going to get the attachments from that item. So I get my item, I get the attachments, and pretty simple, I'm just putting in the ID of whatever item that was created. And my favorite, probably my favorite control that we use all the time is the apply to each control. And this thing really can do so much stuff. So it is pretty awesome. And it's a little confusing at first, but all it's really doing is saying, okay, so for each, for each attachment that I have, what are you going to do with that? So for each attachment, I'm going to get the attachment content. And if you're wanting to recreate this flow, putting in these IDs is usually pretty easy. You just kind of match it with, like this one is the ID from the list item, and the file identifier. It'll pretty much just give that to you right there as a suggestion. And so once I get that attachment content, I come over here to create the file, and I'm actually putting this in a specific folder. So I've got my pictures library, and I'm putting it in the project number folder for whatever project number it was in. The display name, it'll get the display name when I uploaded the image, and the file content is going to be the attachment content from my previous step. So that would work. You'd have the pictures already in there, and if you wanted to update in any of the metadata, any of the properties in there, you could just do a update file properties, and that's where I'm passing it in the project number and the description of the picture and all that stuff in there. So the country and everything and all that stuff about the project. And after that, that's pretty much the first part right there. That's how you can upload pictures to PowerApps. There is another way using JSON. And that one, you can ask me maybe for a video on that or how to do that. We're actually using that for another project, another app we're doing with the choice people. So that's a pretty cool way. The JSON way is you're pretty much just using that attachment control, and we're actually taking that out of the form, so it's not connected to a form at all. It's just the attachment control, and then you're gonna, then we're going to have a flow send the attachment data that's in the attachment control to flow. Flow's going to understand it and create a file like that. So that way is actually a little bit cleaner. It works really good, and that way is actually really fast. But this way is kind of a simple, easy version if you don't want to mess with JSON and all that. But the next thing we're doing is I'm actually going to create an array variable. So what they wanted to do is when they're uploading their pictures, if I go back to the app, you'll see I can notify headquarters. So if they're saying, hey, these are super awesome pictures, take a look at them. They're wanting to send an email specifically to anyone in headquarters with all these pictures. The flow is going to create a variable that's an array, and the array is going to allow me to put all the attachments inside of it. So the next thing I'm going to do is do a condition and say, okay, if they clicked on notify headquarters, if notify headquarters is true, if they clicked on that, if they want to notify them, then I'm going to get the attachments all over again and kind of do a similar process, except for this time with each attachment, I'm getting the attachment content, and then all I'm doing is putting it into an array, and you just got to put it in this type of format just with the name and the content bytes, and you'll put the display name for the name and the $ content in for the content bytes. And next step is pretty simple. All I have to do is send an email, and I'm giving this email, the picture is taken by whoever, it's for this project, it's in this community, and if I go to the attachments, all I have to do is just put in my variable that's an array that has all the attachment content in there. And so that'll actually send an email with all the pictures as an attachment in the email. So it's pretty cool, kind of fun. I think there's a lot of different things you could do with that. And that'll really work with, I'm using this with pictures, but you can use this with documents, or it works with everything. So that's pretty cool to figure out. If you just wanted to send one attachment, like if you just wanted to have one attachment, the reason I'm putting it into that var attachments and it's an array is because, you know, I want to be able to send multiple attachments. But if I just wanted to send one, I'm pretty sure it would work if you just got that attachment content, put it in there. Pretty sure that'll work. If that wouldn't, then so far about that, yeah.
Is there a limit to attaching those photos in the PowerApps, the size of those?
Oh yeah. Did you ask that question last time? I think I. Oh. I'm trying to remember the answer to that.
I think it's like 10 megabits. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Maximum attachment size says 10. I wonder. I mean, you can change that apparently. But... Oh, really? Well, that's dumb. Well, why would they let you change it?
I just wondered if they. Have you run into any problems with users? I've never run into problems with anybody using that with the 10 megabytes as well.
Oh, right. Yeah. Usually, I guess pictures are usually under that. I think that's why so if you're using that JSON way and you're running the flow from inside the app and you're using JSON, I could try to open that up if we have time. I think we'll have time actually. I'll open that up real quick. So this is the choice site, but that is just going to, since we're just using the attachment control and it's not really going through PowerApps, the attachment and control is just to let you get the right format of the attachment content, I guess. So when you're passing that to flow, it should get whatever it is. It doesn't matter how big it is. It's just it might take it a little longer, but let me open that one really quick, actually. I'll kind of show that a little bit. So this is the other app that we have.
Is there a size limit on your list, your SharePoint list for attachment?
Is there a size? It's probably, yeah. Okay.
For the attachments, and then if you're storing just an actual document, you just raise that to 30 or something crazy.
That is big. That's crazy. Wow. This is showing the other way. I guess you can't really tell it's the other way, but so when I zoom this in a little bit. Okay. So what I have over here is this is just a gallery with some different files in it. And if I click this upload button, right here is just the attachment control. So this isn't in a form. I think that's the important part. You're not actually submitting an item with attachments in it. You're just using that attachment control to, just something about it allows PowerApps to send the right data to flow. I could try to explain that.
You can just copy that outside of a form?
Yeah.
Like that, and then move it to a screen, basically?
Yeah. Here, I think I'll show real quick. I think I can kind of redo that real quick. So it's kind of easy. You just put on a form there. It comes with the attachment control, and this will load. But I think that does let you add as much size as you want. Let's go to this right here, my document screen. And you'll see I've just got my attachment control. Oh man, right here, you can't really see it, but let me add in a form real quick. So I'll show you how to. So add in a form. And we'll give it a background so you can kind of see it. And it can be any list. There we go.
Because any list will have that attachment.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think typically it's, I guess, just SharePoint, but I guess maybe other data sources have that too, but might take it a while. And
Yeah, it builds the form off every column.
oh yeah, oh geez, yeah, there they all are.
Annoying.
Yeah, Should have chose a different list. So what you can do is you can come to your form and click on the attachments card. You can click on attachments, and if you just copy it, sometimes it's kind of weird copying and pasting it. It doesn't work all the time. Let's see, oh, there it goes. And it'll kind of freak out because it's not attached to a form anymore, so it's going to have all these errors on it. Oh, this is kind of messy, but then I can just, oh wow. Then I can just delete the form and just have that attachment control. And then you'll have to, fix all the errors and everything on there. So that's what I've done over here. So I click on upload. So here's just the attachment control. I've just made it really big, and you can change things in it a little bit. So you can add the maximum attachments to 12. I think it can handle as many attachments, though. That's kind of nice. Then you can change the no attachments text. So right now it's saying there's nothing attached. You can change like that to, hey, add a new attachment or upload a document here or something like that. So you can kind of customize it. Even where it says just attach file, you can customize that. But on here, if I can click on it, let's go to, so basically what you have to do with this is, now it's a little confusing, but what we need to do is use an image. And if I can kind of re-engineer this, so right here you'll see I'm selecting something, and you never have to actually see the image, but what it's doing is it's just showing the last attachment control, or the last attachment dot value. So that's going to show, if it's like a picture, that's going to show the picture. But the image is going to allow me to get the right content out of it. So if I go over to the flow, when I'm starting my flow, so once I've added something on here, we'll add that onto there. So once I click on this button, then it's going to start my flow. And let's see if I can zoom in on this again. It's a little crazy. Okay. So then it's going to start my flow. So there's the name of my flow right here. It's going to run it, and I'm passing it my, I think that's, let's see, that's the, you can pass it a few different things. So that's the name of the gallery. So I'm passing it, hey, which library is this going into? And that's going to be, the library's name is right there. And the real part where you're uploading the information is going to be right here. So it's this JSON part. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay. So the JSON, if I don't really know like a whole lot about JSON, to be honest, but basically what it's going to do is it's going to get that information and pass it to Flow, and Flow can understand JSON. So PowerApps can't really, you can't just say, hey, here's the attachment like properties, and you pass that to Flow, and Flow can't really understand that for whatever reason. Flow doesn't understand whatever language the attachment content it is in. You have to pass it in JSON. So that's kind of a little trick to that. So all I'm doing is every time I'm adding an attachment on there, it's getting it in a collection, and it just has the JSON format. You just do include binary data, and that's just so Flow can understand it. And in that flow, let's see, what's that flow called? Create file from. All right, so I'll go back to that flow. And this one's going to be pretty simple too, but I wish we had more time because you could really kind of explain it a little bit better. But so what this one is doing is, of course, it's getting, when it's running when PowerApps says it's going to run. So PowerApps is going to start it, and I'm setting this, that variable is just saying, where am I putting this? It's just setting the name of the library. But the real thing to remember is this parse JSON. So I'm passing it some information from PowerApps, which was, geez, this right here. So you can pass multiple things to the flow, and this is one of them. So I'm just passing it that JSON data with all that attachment properties in there. And if I go back to the flow, again, you've got to make this kind of sample of all that and put in the type and the items and everything and make that look the way it does. So that's a little confusing and kind of scary sometimes if you've never done that. I've never done that. So this was kind of a learning experience. But yeah, so once you parse the JSON, that basically allows Flow to get information out of there, because what we're sending it is, you know, the display name of the attachment, the content of the attachment, and all parse JSON means is, hey, I'm going to separate the display name and the actual content so you can understand it. So then I'm going to kind of do something similar. So for each item I get of that parse JSON, I am going to create a file, and the file name is the file I got from there and from the parse JSON part. And the file content, I'm going to have to say, use a special function called data URI to binary and pass in the content of the file. So that's, I know that's kind of complicated, but you can ask me about that later afterwards if you'd like, if you have any more questions on that. But just to know that you can actually do that. So remember, there's at least two ways. So you can use a flow that's going to upload pictures to SharePoint or OneDrive or whatever it is from PowerApps, from either creating a new item, getting those attachments, and then saving it in the library, or using this JSON method, which is a little more complicated, but it's super fast. If I go back to my form, it's way fast. It loads it pretty much about as fast as SharePoint, I think, probably a little slower, but so it's pretty cool. Let's see. The last thing, still have a good little bit of time, I wanted to show you guys is what's kind of tricky, what I thought would be something easy, but what's kind of nice when we're doing this, showing the pictures. So when I upload a picture again, put this nice pretty picture of my face. I'll add one more. I'll put in this one. I think you can see this pretty good. I think you can actually drag and drop it in there somewhat. Does that work? Huh, thought that works, but I guess not. Okay. So once I've got those in there, this button allows me to remove it. But you'll notice that I can either click here and remove the picture. So if I click here, I exit out, there's just one image left. But I can also click here and remove it. So you have to kind of deal with the two different ways of deleting it from the attachment control. So I was kind of fiddling with this and finally figured it out. So basically what I'm doing right here is on this attachment control, there's a property on the attachment control that says on add file. So when I'm adding a file, I'm just collecting it to a collection called collect pictures, and I'm getting the last attachment from my attachment control. So that's kind of nice. I can use that. The first function is going to get the first attachment. This last function is going to get the last attachment that I've entered. So on add, it's kind of hard to say like on add file, add the file I just uploaded to the collection. So I have to use, whenever I'm adding a file, okay, add the last file that's in the attachment control to the collection. And the reason I'm using a collection is if I go to my attachment control and go to items, my items is actually that collection. So I'm kind of using the attachment control every time I add a file, I'm adding it to the collection, and what's showing is in here is that collection. So then when I'm ever, well, let's see, the simpler way, first, the easy way was just when I add something, and then I'm reviewing my pictures, all this button is going to do is just say, well, remove this item from that collection. And then it won't show up in the attachment control because the items in the attachment control is the collection. So that was pretty simple, but the hard part was when I'm choosing to remove it by clicking on this little X button. And well, how I did that was, so there's also a property that says on remove file. So on remove file, all I'm doing, it was actually a simple solution. Sometimes the solution is really simple and we think it's really complicated. So that was the lesson to learn from this. But so when I'm removing an item, I'm just doing a clear collect on my collection. So I'm just collecting all the data that's in the attachment control and saving it to the collection again. So whatever attachment is not in the attachment control, it's now gone from the collection as well. So it's kind of like referencing itself. It's kind of in a loop of the items is the collection, and when I'm adding a file, it's a collection, and when I remove it, it's removing it from the collection, and then I'm collecting the collection, and it's kind of this big whole loop thing that's kind of weird. But so that's how that works. And then all I've done on the button here for its visible property is if the attachment control has something in it, then show it, and if it doesn't, then don't show the button. So, and then that's just gonna, when I click on the button, where is it? When I click on it, it's updating a context, and that's just gonna show that gallery. The gallery is gonna appear and say, hey, I'm only showing if you've clicked on the button, and then it shows all the pictures, and then when I click on the X, that's updating the variable back to false and hiding it again, so that's not too bad. Let's see. So are there any questions about that process? I know it's kind of confusing, so you can ask me any questions afterwards. Yeah?
How many users of the application will there be?
That's a good question. How many do you think there are? Like, yeah.
And how do you distribute or share the flow?
So that's a good question. The flow will just run based on that list. So the flow's not really attached to the app, at least this app. So when I'm...
Each user has to have, it has to be shared with each user, right?
Right, yeah. The Power App will have to be shared with each of them. That might take a while because there's 100 or whatever. So I've heard someone's kind of complained about that because right now you can't share a Power App or a flow, I don't think, with an entire like group in SharePoint. You have to share it by each individual person. So that's something that hopefully they'll change. But as long as they have permission to create a file or create an item in this list, the flow is just going to run based on when an item is created. And it doesn't care who created it. It's just going to run every time that item is created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the challenge I'm seeing with flow is that if I understand it right, you can't just make a flow that's going to run in the background. You have to identify every user that has to be shared with any user.
Oh, right. So with this one, we won't have to share it with anyone, at least this one, since it's just looking at that list. That you shouldn't have to share it with anybody. With the other flow, if you're starting a flow from within PowerApps, you should have to share the flow with everybody and that's kind of another tedious process, I guess, as well. But so that's maybe a workaround. Maybe you don't want to share the flow with everyone, and you can do it this way so that the flow is only connected to the list, and they're just creating an item in the list, and the flow will just run when an item is created. Then you wouldn't have to share the flow with everybody. It would just have to be just with that list or whatever. Does that kind of make more sense?
Yeah, it wouldn't, because if you create an item in the list, his flow is running and
Right. Yeah.
So you create with, an admin account, so that way that user put it itself.
Yeah, so what we've kind of done with that, I guess Microsoft, I don't know if they probably said maybe the best way to do it, but what we've done is just shared the flow with someone we know is going to stay there the whole time. So if I go to the flow, get out
Make
of
sure
here.
you create a service account, so that's what you use for all the flows.
Right,
What
yeah.
about the Teams flows? I feel like in a Teams flow, everybody in the whole team. That's another way to direct the system.
Oh yeah, hey, that's a good idea. That's cool. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, I guess I'm the owner of this flow right now, so we'll, yeah, eventually create just a normal system account and share all the flows and all the Power Apps with that one account. So no matter what, they always have access to it. I think, let's see, you guys want to see anything else? I think I'll actually show one more app. Well, wanted to show we created an app that uses the barcode scanner, and it lets us scan something and then it'll search it on Amazon. But I guess you can't really do that with the laptop. But so yeah, I think that is about everything. I don't know if there are any last questions. Again, it's kind of a confusing process with the flow and attachments and all those things. But again, you can ask me later on, or I can point you to a video that explains it and takes a little bit longer than I have to really explain it and why you need to use the image and how to do the JSON and everything. So hopefully that's not too confusing. But I think it's kind of nice to know all the different ways of using Power Apps and using Flow. There's multiple ways to do something usually. And I think a lot of the times, from what I've seen, I was creating an app for my parent-in-law's business. They do deliveries. And as soon as I started creating this app that helped them with their maintenance, they were like, oh, hey, we could use an app for our time and we could use an app for this. And then it's once people start thinking of all the different ways that you can do an app after you kind of show them what they can do with it, it's crazy how we can start to think of all these different solutions for it. So I think there's always different cool things we can do with Power Apps. I hope they keep coming out with some cool stuff. But just to end real quick, thanks for putting up with me. And go ahead and visit our website. We do offer services on Power Apps. We'll either build the app for you or your company, or we'll kind of walk you through and help you build the app that you're wanting to create or do training or whatever you like. So we also do that. We have a little YouTube channel. We've got about 70 subscribers strong. So, so I'll try to post videos on something like this, on how to upload documents and things like that. And yeah, so that's about it. Were there any last questions? Cool. All right. It's up to you.